Hey, it is 12 noon on Wednesday, which means it's time for this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. We got a great episode today about land development, so stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome to Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you live into your phones, into your homes, into your tablets, whatever it is that you're watching us on to increase your real estate knowledge. That's what we're here to do. If you're looking for a more kind of drilled in, dialed in way to increase your real estate knowledge, maybe you're looking to get your real estate license or somehow enhance your real estate career, make sure you check us out at tampaschool.com. That is tampaschool.com. Or give us a call at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. And if you're trying to pass your exam, we've got some really dialed in exam prep tools you could use at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com. It's our recommended strategy to help you pass your exams on the first try. So what we're talking about today on this week's episode of Ask the Instructor, and if you guys haven't subscribed yet already, go over to the YouTube, subscribe on there. We're getting more subscribers than we know what to do with. Thank you guys so much if you've already subscribed. If you're sharing with your friends, if you like it, make sure you hit the like button. Show us some love to let us know that you're enjoying this and you're getting some sort of benefit out of these shows here. But what we're talking about today is land development. And we're going to go at a couple different angles of this here. So there's really two different main ways, two different perspectives I want to focus on with the land development that we're going to be covering today. One method is, this is the one you probably learned from the course, that you probably remember from the course and that you might have seen on an exam before, and that's through subdivision. Now, you might have heard that word before, subdivision, to describe some sort of neighborhood. And basically, a subdivision is where you're taking some sort of land and you're subdividing it. You're subdividing the land. So that's one method we could go through and do for land development. The second method we're going to be talking about, this is a method that you'll see when we're in an area that has a scarcity of land. When there's not a lot of land available, you won't see subdivision. Because subdivision basically is built on the assumption that we have this big piece of land and we want to break it up into smaller lots. This is really the opposite of that. We have a couple little pieces of land and we want to basically turn it into one large piece of land, whether it's we're going to be putting a single family home on there, maybe we're trying to get enough pieces of land together to build a retail plaza or multifamily housing or industrial warehousing or whatever it may be, but that's going to be called assemblage. Like you're assembling. That's kind of this one is dividing, this one is assembling. That's kind of our roots of these words here that'll help you remember what those mean. So in subdivision, we're trying to divide this out into its smaller pieces. With assemblage, we're assembling multiple lots together into a larger piece. And this whole episode today, it's titled Profit from Land Development. So it's one thing to know what these are. So subdivision is breaking up. Assemblage is putting together. So that's one part of this, just knowing what these words actually mean. If you can't speak the real estate language, it's hard to communicate, whether it's on the exam or with an investor or whatever it may be. So you definitely want to know these terms. But let's get into now how we could profit from these different methods. And before we even get into that, let's just cover the basics of profit for calculating profit, calculating a percentage of profit, sometimes called a return on investment, sometimes called a cap rate. It depends which way you're looking at it, but really this kind of, it changes based on the different way we're looking at it. Like if we're doing with cap rate, that's got a lot more rules associated with it, but profit in general. So we've got a couple different words here we need to look at. We've got price, cost, and profit. So price, cost, and profit. Price is how much you're selling something for. Cost is how much it was for you to acquire. And profit is basically how much money you made. And for figuring out what that profit is, Because you could basically say, okay, we bought this piece of land for $100,000. We sold it for $150,000, and you might already be thinking in your head, okay, that's a $50,000 profit. And the math is really simple for this. It's basically your price minus your cost gives you your profit. So that's our dollar amount of profit. Let's throw some numbers in here. Again, let's say we've got our $150,000 price that we're selling a property for. All of our costs that we've got factored in end up being $100,000. So on this particular property, we've got a $50,000 profit. So now that's our dollar amount of profit. But now what matters a lot more to investors, especially when you start factoring in financing and other people's money and things like that, isn't necessarily the dollar amount of profit that's being generated. It's sometimes much more important for the percentage of profit that's being generated. And to find the percentage of profit, what you're doing is taking this dollar amount of profit and you're dividing this. You're dividing it by one of these two numbers, the price or the cost. And now this is the biggest misconception I see whenever anybody's doing a profit calculation, is mixing up and not remembering what it's that you divide this by. So it's profit divided by cost. And this is the same if you're trying to calculate out a loss. It's profit or loss divided by cost. It kind of rhymes together. Profit or loss divided by cost. You say that enough times, you're going to remember it. The reason why, because you might think more logically. Maybe the rhyme's not for you. You might think more logically, and it makes sense why we're dividing by the cost rather than dividing by the price. The reason why it's profit or loss divided by cost, not divided by price, is because this cost represents how much money the investor is putting in. So in this property here, this $100,000 cost, that's how much money the investor had in the deal. The $150,000 is what they're taking away from the deal, but it's really only the $50,000 that they added on top of that. So what we're trying to do is find how this $50,000 relates to this initial cost of $100,000. So it's profit or loss divided by cost, and that gives you your percentage of profit. So profit or loss divided by cost is going to give you your percentage of profit. And now this is the number that's usually an investor's goal. When an investor is looking to invest in something, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks or bonds or startups or whatever it may be, there's a certain percentage it is that they want to basically recoup, that they want to earn from this investment. And this is how they're able to because this investor that invested $100,000 here, they might have $1 million to actually invest, and $50,000 to $1 million is nowhere near the same of $50,000 to $100,000. So yes, in those two situations where, let's say the cost on one is $1 million and the cost on another is $100,000, the profit dollar amount might be exactly the same, $50,000, but $50,000 out of $100,000, that's a lot higher percentage of profit than $50,000 on $1 million. And so that's where our percentage of profit is really going to enlighten us and show us really the full picture of what's going on here. Because, yeah, we're dealing with a lot smaller property value, but we're getting a lot larger return on our investment with this. A $50,000 profit on a $100,000 cost, that's a 50%. When you plug in the numbers here, $50,000 in profit divided by $100,000 in cost, you end up with a 50% return on your investment, a 50% profit, which is huge. You put money into a savings account, maybe it's 0.05% or something like that. That's ridiculous that you're earning on that. So this is extremely high. And this is usually where it's more possible when you have like these smaller dollar amounts, because there's maybe a lot more potential to be there. If it's $1 million property, maybe that $50,000 is really $100,000, so maybe that's double, but it's nowhere near this percentage here. So putting it in a percentage here is really going to help give us perspective across the different dollar amounts. And yeah, maybe the investor that does have $1 million cash does want to invest in a $100,000 property. If that gives them a 50% return on their money, they do that. They could do that 10 times and they can make $500,000 if they could replicate this 10 times. So this is really, before we get into actually understanding the nuts and bolts of the assemblage and the subdivision, understanding how we're calculating out that profit, because that's something we're going to tie in at the end once we go through and break down the subdivision and assemblage aspects of this a little bit. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. If you guys got questions about any of this stuff, or maybe there's something in particular about land development you'd like me to answer, send that into the comments. I've got the Facebook and YouTube comments loaded up right now. We are live, so send those into us. And again, make sure you're subscribing and sharing with your friends. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate you tuning in today. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back in about 2 minutes after these short commercials. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Have you been thinking about starting a career in real estate? Enjoy an entrepreneurial lifestyle that allows for schedule flexibility with unlimited income potential. In real estate, the sky is the limit, and what you put in is what you get out. Learn more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you wish you could make your own schedule? A career in real estate allows for unimaginable schedule flexibility. Whether you're just looking to make some extra cash in your spare time or become the next top real estate agent, a career in real estate allows you to call the shots. Find out more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Hey, if you're liking the show today, which I'm sure you are, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Our goal is to help you better understand the real estate industry, and I hope we're accomplishing that. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember to leave your comments in the comment section below.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. Oh, you're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Chrismo, and every Wednesday we come into your homes, your phones, your whatever it may be that you're watching us on to help you understand the real estate industry in a much more technical, in-depth level, to really take your game to the next level, because if you want to be an expert in the real estate industry, it requires expert knowledge. That's part of the reason why. You know, I was scrolling through Facebook, I believe it was this weekend, and I saw some video ad for some sort of app that claims to make trading real estate like trading stocks. And my initial impression, I was like, oh, geez, no, I'm going to be out of a job if they replace us with some sort of stock trading app. And then the more I go through it and look at this thing, I'm like, oh my God, this will never happen. This is a pipe dream. They basically were taking the public records and making it a little bit easier to access. But really, that's depending on the county you live in, that might help you out. But it's already pretty easy to access records here in Hillsborough County. So job security is still there, and that's just because there's such a complex process involved. Even if you're just buying a home, today we're talking a little bit more about the investment side of things, but even if you're just purchasing a home as a homeowner yourself, it's a complex process. Not only, and that's what this app was trying to kind of solve out a little bit more, was the whole kind of title process and making that a little bit easier and smoother. But really, as a real estate professional, you're not even qualified to give an opinion on title, just because that's really all it is ever is an opinion on title. So that company I could definitely see getting into some hot water over what they're trying to do. But anyways, it's a complex process, and it requires expert information to understand this stuff, especially when we get into the investor part of this. It's a whole new world of information that you need to know that a typical homeowner would not. So the more you could learn, the more you could earn. And you've probably heard that a million times before, but it is absolutely true in the real estate world, because when people see that you're not knowledgeable about something that they're asking you about, that's going to really kind of make them worry about using you. Now we got a question coming in from Logan, so what's the more common in Tampa, subdivision or assemblage? So great question, Logan. I always love the questions that come in from people that are watching, because it's crazy where we get people watching from. We've got a bunch of fans now in Australia that tune into the show, California, all over the globe. So thank you guys for watching and making the show what it is. But yeah, Logan's question about Tampa specifically, and it really kind of depends where it is that you're looking in Tampa. Now, within the city limits of Tampa, especially Tampa's really built out, especially compared to a lot of other places within the city limits. There are still some areas where there's large pieces of land available, but where you're seeing that, where there's large pieces of land available, isn't necessarily within the city limits of Tampa. It's on kind of like the suburbs and the areas surrounding Tampa. So within Tampa itself, we definitely see a little bit more assemblage, especially when you're looking at the South Tampa is really famous right now in the Tampa area for assemblage, where people are taking smaller lots and putting them together to make larger lots and repurposing the land. Same thing in St. Petersburg. They're really kind of out of land as well. But now you get into these more suburban types of areas, the areas that are surrounding Tampa, the Wesley Chapels, the Fish Hawk Ranches, all these kind of like surrounding neighborhoods that are also booming right now. That's where we have a lot of subdivision going on, because there's not already real estate there. It's already big pieces of lands that they're breaking up. So now let's get into let's cover subdivision first. Because if you're watching these videos to help you understand stuff for your exam, subdivision is definitely something you're going to want to know how to calculate for exam purposes. Very likely to end up showing up on your exam. So what we're doing in subdivision is essentially taking a large piece of land. So let's say we've got this piece of land here that's 100 acres. So we've got this 100-acre piece of land here. And now, if we're a developer and we want to subdivide this out, so think of like the new home builders where they've got these model home subdivisions where you go through, you get tour some models, but for the most part, the rest of the neighborhood isn't really built out yet. Maybe there's a couple people that have purchased model homes, but that's really what this kind of all starts from. We have a piece of land that's purchased by the developer, and this developer will basically break these up. Now, the developer might break them up into large chunks and sell that to another developer, so they might just break it up maybe into quarters and then sell each 25 acres to a different developer. But let's go maybe in the thread, in the context of where you'll maybe see this on the exam, is let's say this is one single developer for this 100 acres. And within these 100 acres, they want to build out as many lots as they can, or subdivide out, I should say, as many lots as they can within this particular 100-acre piece of land that we're dealing with here. Now, to put this in a little bit of perspective here, what we're eventually going to have to do as well is turning this into a square footage number. So if you remember that there's 43,560 square feet in an acre, and if you don't remember that, you can remember 4 ladies going 35 and a 60. That's the quick and dirty, easy way to remember that. So 43,560. We're going to take this and multiply by 100, and that's going to end up giving us 4,356,000 square feet it is that we're dealing with. Now, why are we putting this in terms of square footage? Why are we thinking now in terms of square footage instead of just keeping it nice and simple in acres? Well, what we're trying to do basically is break this up into little lots that we could fit into this, and really the lots would be a lot smaller than this. So if you think of lots that you're seeing in these subdivisions, they're not 1 acre lots. They're not even typically half-acre lots or even a quarter of an acre for the lots. A lot of times these are 9,000, 8,000, 10,000 square foot lots. Unless we're in a very sprawling estate type of neighborhood, which that's not something you're seeing actively being developed too much. Most of what's being developed more so is what would tap into the more like kind of middle class type of development, especially when you get into these hotter areas. That's where the space again continues to contract. The neighborhoods that are seeing developed today around the Tampa Bay area, even outside of the Tampa Bay area, you're typically seeing smaller lots just because they really want to squeeze everything they can out of these lots, because this overall plot of land continues to get smaller typically, or more expensive. So we're trying to divide this out into these individual little lots here that we could work with. And they're going to be small lots. They might be 10,000, 8,000, 9,000 square foot, something very small, which is less than a quarter of an acre. So one thing we also have to consider, because these lots, you know, they're probably going to look something like this here. And we can't just put all these lots out there like this, all butted up against each other. Because if we butt all these lots up against each other here, so say if we're trying to squeeze in as many lots as we can here, How's this person going to get to their house? They can't. So that's why you'll typically see, well, not typically, you'll always see in neighborhoods roads and streets that allow access to all these lots. So you might see it kind of more so laid out like this here with a street, maybe a little cul-de-sac type of thing that we've got going on here. But that way these lots are able to access the road, which that's kind of a deal breaker for most potential home buyers. They typically want to be able to get to their lot. They don't want to just move in there and stay there for all of eternity. Now, maybe when we've got more Amazon drones delivering everything we ever need, then maybe we'll never need to leave the property. But until that dystopian future comes to play, we're still going to need roads to access these lots in here. Now, good news for homeowners because, yay, we could come and go as we please on our lot because we've got this nice road here. Bad news for the developers because this is now eating into that 100 acres that we're trying to develop here. So we don't have as much land. We can't build lots on 100 acres because we got to have streets. We got to have the streets. We also, that little cul-de-sac we've got right there, that's going to take up some space. You know, maybe there's some sort of retention pond over here. Maybe there's a retention pond. Maybe there's some sort of park next to this retention pond. So this is all things that you need to factor in when you're developing out of properties. You can't take 100 acres and cram as many lots as you can into it and just have lots crammed in there. You need to have room for streets. You'll have to have, when there's streets, there's going to be storm sewers so the water doesn't kind of pool in these streets, so that'll have to go into these little retention ponds to hold the water. You have the parks there because, you know, if you want to market this neighborhood to people that may have children, although you want to be careful with that marketing to make sure you're not violating the Fair Housing Act and the familial status, but the parks are going to be appealing, not just to people with children, but I mean, a lot of the parks too, where the basketball courts, the tennis courts, volleyball's really big in the new Tampa area. You drive through some of the neighborhoods here and you just see 50 people out there like crowded around a volleyball court and so on and so forth. So those are definitely things that are attractive that'll help increase the pricing here. So really ultimately it's not the worst thing for the developer. Yes, you're cutting into this 100 acres that we're dealing with here. We don't really have 100 acres that we're going to be able to develop at this point, but overall, it's a necessity. We could try to make that as nice as we can. So what we have to do first, because we're trying to figure out basically what we need to sell these individual lots for in order to get a certain percentage of profit. And that's why I covered that profit part of this first, because you really have to understand how to calculate profit before you can figure out, okay, based on this here, what do I have to sell these all for to get a certain amount of profit here. It's a lot of parts of this for just doing the math and understanding if this is feasible for a development. And again, expert information. There's people that get degrees in real estate. A lot of the development world, there's people with degrees in real estate that specifically understand and have knowledge of this and also get more deep into like the demographics of this and really laying out this neighborhood for the most effective usage. So what we want to figure out here basically is what percentage are we not going to be able to build lots on? What percentage can we not subdivide into lots? What percentage has to be for streets, for our retention ponds, for our parks, for all these areas that we have in the neighborhood that's not going to really turn a profit to us as the developer? So you want to find that percentage. And we won't get into the too technical side of this of really kind of laying this all out and trying to map out and figure out how much streets you would really need, because that's like almost taking an engineer drawing out a whole plat map basically to understand that. But let's just say here it'd be safe to assume maybe 30-40%. And if you're just kind of in the preliminary side of this, trying to understand the feasibility of this here, or maybe just talk to one of the engineers that's going to be drawing out this plat map for you and say, okay, what percentage are we going to have for streets, for storm sewers, for parks and so on and so forth. But let's just figure about 30% it is that we're going to be dealing with here. And that's probably a fairly low number, but it should work. So 30% streets, parks, ponds, all that other stuff. So we've got about 30% of this we can't use. So really now we're not dealing with 100 acres we have to build lots on. We're dealing with actually 70 acres that we could build lots on. We had 100 acres to start out with, but 30% of that pretty much gone already to the streets, the ponds, the parks, and so on and so forth. So it's really only about 70 acres that we're able to develop out of this 100 acres that we're dealing with here. And what we'll need to do over here basically is also figure out, instead of off of 100 acres now, we're originally dealing with 4,356,000 square feet that we had to work with. But now it's only 70 acres that we have to work with. So we're going to take this now, instead of multiplying by 100, we're going to multiply by 70. And we'll just pull out our handy dandy calculator. Computate this real quick. So we've got 43,560 square feet in a single acre. We're not dealing with a single acre, we're dealing with 70 acres. So we're going to multiply that by 70. And we get 3,049,200. So 3,049,200 square feet. That's how much we have to actually work with out of these 70 acres, which is 70%, the 30% taking out, that we have to actually develop in this neighborhood. So that tells us how much space we have for lots, but now we need to figure out basically how many lots we could fit in to this 3,049,200 square feet. And now this begs the question of, okay, well, how big are the lots going to be? So there's a couple different ways we could look at this here. Kind of also depends on the demographic it is that we're targeting. If this is going to be a $1 million plus neighborhood, we're obviously going to need large lots. But if this is going to be lower price properties, smaller properties, we don't want to have these giant lots, especially when it's smaller properties, because that will also put a crunch on us a little bit as well for turning that same percentage of profit. So typically you want to try to maximize the land that's available here, while still not being quite on top of each other. But the number that's ultimately going to tell you what's the maximum number of lots that you could fit in here is going to be what's required by zoning. So pretty much every area is going to have some sort of zoning requirement for a minimum square feet per lot. And that requirement, let's say it's 9,000. So what that means is each one of these individual lots has to be at least 9,000 square feet. If it's even 1 square foot smaller than that, it won't meet the minimum zoning requirement. And what that means is when your engineer submits the subdivision plat map to the local planning commission to get approved, they're going to deny it because they'll see that not all the lots are meeting that minimum requirement. So there's that minimum requirement that's established, and that minimum lot size is going to help us understand the maximum number of lots that we could actually fit in here. So what we're going to do is take that 3,049,200 square feet. That's the total square footage it is that we have to work with in this entire neighborhood once we've taken out that 30% for the streets, the parks, the ponds, and all that other stuff. Now, if we're going to go off of a minimum lot size of 9,000, and you're going to look at what the zoning is for that area and what that minimum size is for that particular neighborhood. So all you're going to do is just divide it by that minimum size. Now, this minimum is just going to tell you how many lots it is that you could have maximum in there. So we're going to take this, divide it by 9,000. So we've got 3,049,200 divided by 9,000. And we've got 338.8. So 338.8 is the number of lots we're allowed to have in this particular piece of land, this tract of land that we're trying to develop here. Now, be careful, because the rounding rules you learned back in school, not in your real estate class, because you should have learned the right rounding rules for this one, but normally with rounding rules, it would tell you 0.8, you would round up. And typically, yes, that would be accurate, but now when we're dealing with land development and we round down, so the reason why we're going to be rounding down is because, so we've got 338 full-size lots, and we have one lot that's going to be 0.8 of a full-size lot. So what this is telling us here when we divide that by 9,000, so how many 9,000 square foot lots can we fit into 3,049,200 square feet? That's the square footage we have available. That's 338.8. So we could fit 338 of 9,000, and then we have one additional of 0.8 of 9,000. But now if the minimum that the zoning requirements say is 9,000, like I just said, when you submit that plat map, if you have a lot smaller than 9,000 and the minimum requirement is 9,000, they're not going to approve your plat map. You'll have to go literally back to the drawing board to figure out how you can relay out these lots to make sure every single lot is over 9,000 square feet. So what you're doing in this case here is always rounding down. You're just dropping any trailing decimals essentially with this here. So it's really only 338 lots that we have available to build on in this particular tract of land. So that's finding the number of lots. But now this whole episode's based on finding the profit when we're doing land development here. We're trying to find how much money we can make developing this piece of land. So we're going to need some additional information. We're going to need the cost of this lot. We're going to need to know how many lots, which we just figured out here, and then we're going to be able to figure out what we should sell each one of these lots for if we want to get a certain percentage of profit. And really the only thing you need to know on top of that is how to do it, what those steps are. And we're going to cover that after this quick commercial break. Again, send in your comments and questions. Hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Have you been thinking about starting a career in real estate? Enjoy an entrepreneurial lifestyle that allows for schedule flexibility with unlimited income potential. In real estate, the sky is the limit, and what you put in is what you get out. Learn more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you wish you could make your own schedule? A career in real estate allows for unimaginable schedule flexibility. Whether you're just looking to make some extra cash in your spare time or become the next top real estate agent, a career in real estate allows you to call the shots. Find out more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're liking the show today, which I'm sure you are, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Our goal is to help you better understand the real estate industry, and I hope we're accomplishing that. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember to leave your comments in the comment section below.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Carissimo, aka The Instructor, that's here to help you understand the real estate industry. We do this every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because we give out all kinds of free real estate information to help you understand the real estate industry. And real estate, if you want to be successful, a big part of that success is the knowledge. Real estate is, again, where the more you learn, the more you can earn. And really you can tap into the investment side if you understand this aspect of this here. I had a question come in from Sunshine over on YouTube. Sunshine, thanks for tuning in. So Sunshine's asking, is the commission the same for an agent when you're selling homes and land? And the answer is, it could be. So with commission, this is an agreement that the listing agent typically has with the seller. So you would agree to some sort of certain percentage, maybe it's 6%, 5%, 7%. You're agreeing to a percentage with the seller of the property, whether it's a piece of land or a piece of land with a building attached to it. So it could absolutely be the same percentage. Really, the percentage that you're charging for a commission is more so, it's a negotiated amount that you negotiate as the listing agent based on how much it is that you think you're worth, based on what it is that you're doing, based on the knowledge it is that you're bringing to the table. That's the reason why homeowners, or property owners, or investment owners, and real estate investment owners are willing to pay a commission to real estate professionals, is when they see value. So if they don't see any value in you, you're going to have a hard time commanding a higher commission rate or negotiating a higher commission rate. But when you show value in what it is that you could bring to the table and what it is you offer to them, you could absolutely charge a higher commission, and they'll be happy to pay a higher commission than what other agents might be charging out there. So yes, it can be the same percentage of commission. Now, with this, if we have 3% on a piece of land versus 3% on a small single family home, if we're doing 3% on this 100 acres here, that's probably going for a lot higher price tag than just the single family home that's just a 9,000 square foot type of lot. So the percentage could be the same, but obviously if we've got $1 million versus $100,000, that 3%, even if it's still 3%, is going to be a lot higher on $1 million versus $100,000. So, and that's typically what you see when you get more into the investment side of this, more into commercial real estate. That's where you see larger price tags. You might have lower percentages of commission, but that's typically just because the price tag is so much higher, and there's definitely a higher degree of knowledge required. So what we're trying to do today is understanding how to make a profit from developing a piece of land. And in this case here, we're doing subdivision. We're also going to talk a little bit about assemblage as well, putting pieces of land together. This one is taking a large piece of land and breaking it up into individual pieces that we can then sell off. So what we have to work with here is 338 lots. That's the maximum number of lots we could have in this neighborhood if we're going to comply with zoning, and you're kind of required to comply with the zoning requirements. So 338 lots we'd be able to fit in here. Now let's throw some other numbers in here. We're really kind of changing gears once we figured out that 338 lots it is that we could build in this neighborhood. So what we're trying to do is find out how much money we can make, or what percentage of money, what percentage of profit. Because really when you're talking with an investor, it's more so about the percentages than the actual dollar amount. Yes, there might be some budgets kind of involved based on how much it is that they have available to invest or how much they could get in financing for an investment. But for the most part, the percentages are going to be kind of the universal language of investments. Whether it's a real estate investment or any type of investment, you're looking at a percentage typically. So, but in order to find that percentage, we're going to need some dollar amounts. So let's say that 100 acres cost us, let's say, $3 million. So we've got a $3 million piece of land that we've purchased. Now, what we also need to factor in, because that word cost, if you remember our formula for profit, it's profit or loss divided by cost. So profit or loss divided by cost. So we've got our cost, we've got to figure out the profit, but what we're also going to factor in for what cost is not just how much the piece of land cost, but also how much it's going to cost us to develop this piece of land. So we might have some development costs, and we will have some development costs for paving these streets, for digging out these retention ponds, for installing the park and all this other open spaces, the green spaces, however it is that they're wording that in there. So you're typically going to have some development cost on top of the land cost. So let's say our development cost, and when I say development cost, the cost of developing this piece of land here, let's say that's an additional $4 million. So we've got $3 million for the piece of land. For developing out this 100 acres here, that's going to cost us an additional $4 million. And let's just cap the cost there. There could be other costs as well, but let's say most of that stuff is going to be included under that development cost. But altogether now, we're looking at $7 million in total cost. We've got our number of lots to work with here, which is 338 lots. And now we're also going to need an objective, basically, of our investors. What is our investors' objective? How much money is it that they want to make? And let's just pick a nice, easy, round number here of 10%. So they want to make a 10% return on their investment. So what that means is that not only are they going to have to sell these 338 lots for $7 million, they want to sell these 338 lots for $7 million plus 10% of that. So they invested, their cost is $7 million. If we want to add in the 10% profit to this, what you would do basically is find 10% of $7 million, which would be $700,000, and then add that $700,000 back into the $7 million, because the $700,000 would be our profit, the $7 million would be our cost. So when we factor these two together here, that's going to end up being $7.7 million, or written in decimal form, $7,700,000. So we've got $7,700,000 that we need to recoup across 338 lots. And now, as you can see, the pieces are starting to come together here. Once we found out that number of lots, we've got our percentage of profit. We say, okay, we need $7,700,000. We've got 338 lots to do that. So really all we're doing at this point is just going to divide by 338, which is our number of lots. And this is going to be an expensive subdivision, I can tell you that right now here based on these numbers that we're using. So when we take $7,700,000, quite the parks and streets they're putting into this property. So $7,700,000 divided by 338 lots that we have to work with here. Actually, not too expensive at all. It shows you always trust your calculator. $22,781. So if we sell all 338 lots for at least $22,781, we'll make that 10% return on our profit. And now this could be where, again, this could get even further complex here. This is just really the basics of this. Maybe we've got some sort of sales team involved for selling these properties here. And again, they do have to be licensed in order to do this here. But if we're going to say, okay, this is our amount we need to have to secure the profit for our investor, and then the sales team, if they're able to sell this lot for $25,000, they might get that amount over and above that. That's one way it could be structured. Not saying that is how typically it's structured. It's a little bit more complicated than that typically, but basically if we sell each one of those lots for that's our minimum cost of each lot, then we're going to be able to recoup not only our initial cost of $7 million, but also that 10% profit of $700,000. But now let's increase the odds here. Let's bump this up a little bit, because if we're investing $7 million, a 10% return on investment, the $700,000, you're like, if we're going to go big like this, let's go big in the percentage as well. So let's say we want a 20% return on our investment. So 20% return on our investment, that means we're going to want a profit not of $700,000, but of $1.4 million, $1,400,000. That would be our profit. So our price that we'd have to sell these all for would be $8.4 million, or written as a decimal, $8,400,000. So now let's see how this affects our price of each individual lot, because we might do those numbers. You might be thinking like me, like we did that last calculation. I'm like, these lots are going to be too expensive. I don't know if we're going to get a 10% profit, if that's going to be that's going to be low enough where we could actually sell these lots here. But then we maybe see $22,000. Like, we could sell these lots for $22,000 all day. Let's push the envelope a little bit. Let's see how much money we could make, or how much we could sell these lots for if we want to make a 20% profit. So that brings us down to the $8,400,000. We still have 338 lots that we have to sell that we're going to divide that by. So we take that out of 338, 8,400,000 divided by 338. We end up with big price jump here. I don't know if you're going to be able to handle this. This one's $24,852,000 and about 7 cents. So really, we just went up not even $3,000 from $22,000 to $24,000, and we're able to double our percentage of profit. That's why you really want to be able to work these numbers here, because when you understand how to work these numbers, this is where you can kind of play with the numbers a little bit to understand, okay, can we push the envelope? Can we get it up to 20% profit? I think we can, because if they're willing to pay almost $23,000 for a lot, they're probably going to be okay paying the extra $2,000 for that lot. And really, the lot cost is such a minimal part of the development. I mean, you have the cost of the building, which is going to be much more expensive than this for the lots that we're dealing with here that are 9,000 square feet for building some new homes. So being able to play with these numbers like this here will help shed some light on what's possible with this development here. Yes, there's calculators online that can solve this quickly, but it comes down to understanding what these numbers are that you're plugging in here. And yeah, you can plug in over and over and over and over again in this calculator and you'll start to get it. But this is simple math that you could work out here. Yes, you have to make sure you're not missing any steps or anything like that, but you go through this multiple times. That's the number one thing I tell students when they're worried about math problems, for making sure they could solve those for the exam, which they don't really need to worry about because it's only 10% math on the exam. but that's a good 10%. That's a nice little buffer when you know you got it right. But it's really easy to solve these questions if you know the steps. And how do you know the steps? You could try to memorize the formulas. That would put me to sleep, and I teach this stuff here. Way I recommend doing this is actually solving problems just like this. And if you're looking for questions that are good practice questions, not just these questions that you're finding for free online that you're wondering whether or not they're up to date, whether they have the current laws, and whether or not they're going to be applicable for the exam in your particular state. If you're in Florida and you're trying to pass your real estate exam, make sure you check out questionsimulator.com. This is our bank of hundreds of questions that will give you some great practice to help you study and prepare for your exam. Because especially with the math questions like this, practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect when you're practicing the right way. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about assemblage, what goes on more so in the urban markets where there's already all the lands taken up. And we have a developer that doesn't want to just basically go off of, they can't just buy a big piece of land like this and break that up into smaller pieces. They're taking individual pieces of land and putting it together to make one larger piece of land. So that's called assemblage, and that's what we're going to be covering next. Send in your questions and comments in the chat. I'm going to be watching that. We are live here. We're going to be back after the short commercial break. I'm John Carismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
Have you been thinking about starting a career in real estate? Enjoy an entrepreneurial lifestyle that allows for schedule flexibility with unlimited income potential. In real estate, the sky is the limit, and what you put in is what you get out. Learn more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you wish you could make your own schedule? A career in real estate allows for unimaginable schedule flexibility. Whether you're just looking to make some extra cash in your spare time or become the next top real estate agent, a career in real estate allows you to call the shots. Find out more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're liking the show today, which I'm sure you are, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Our goal is to help you better understand the real estate industry, and I hope we're accomplishing that. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember to leave your comments in the comment section below.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Carismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Carismo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, give us a call. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way you can. Phone number's right below, 813-928-0106. Don't worry, it's going to loop back around after a couple more slides there. You can check us out on our website, tampaschool.com, or if you're trying to study to pass your real estate exams, check out passfirsttry.com. It's our recommended strategy on how to pass your exams on the first try. So definitely check those out. But let's get back into the final segment of profit from land development that we're covering today, which is on assemblage. So what we've been talking about up until this point on the show is how to understand profit with subdivision. When we're taking lots and breaking them down into its smaller pieces. If we've got, again, the 100 acres that we're taking this and we're breaking it out into small little lots. That's subdivision. Assemblage is saying, okay, we've got this piece of land here, we've got this piece of land here, we've got this piece of land here, and we've got this piece of land here. Let's buy these up and put something on top of it. Now, with this could get really complicated, and this gets really, especially when you see these urban redevelopment projects, a lot of this going on in St. Pete, a lot of it going on in the Channel Side area, where this is going on at a massive scale, where they're buying up all these little properties and basically connecting the dots for these properties, of putting them together so they could put some larger development on top of that. Now, the one I want to go ahead and touch on now is, let's say we're just taking two pieces of land. We've got two pieces of land that we're going to put together and try to make some money off of this. So let's say we've got an investor that's willing to pay $100,000 So our investor will pay $100,000 for a 20,000 square foot lot. So they'll pay $100,000 for a 20,000 square foot lot. And, you know, we're looking for lots and we can't find anything above, let's say, 15,000. And you show them the 15,000 square foot lot and they say, no, I need at least 20,000. And I'll give you one more chance. Don't bring me another one under $20,000. So you're like, okay, let's see if we could find a lot $20,000, but you look and you can't find a lot for 20,000 square feet. So what you look at, though, is you're like, oh, well, look at these two lots. They're for sale next to each other. And this one is 9,000 square feet. And this one is 11,000 square feet. And you see these two lots right next to each other. It's like, God, if that was only one lot, that would meet the 20,000 square foot requirement this investor has. And we could pay them, we could sell this to them for the $100,000. So what you could do basically, and this is called assemblage. So assemblage is we're going to be basically turning these two lots into a single lot. So when we put these together, that will be our 20,000 square feet. But now we have two individual lots we need to purchase. So what you could do is, so let's say we come to an agreement with a 9,000 square foot lot. And we get the 9,000 square foot lot owner to say, okay, I will sell you for $30,000. And you're like, great, I could still sell this for $70,000 or buy the other 11,000 lot for $70,000 and break even. But who's in business to break even? So let's say we go to the 11,000 square foot lot and we get them to agree to $50,000. So we've got these two lots we purchased for $30,000 and $50,000. When we assemble these together, when we put them together, that gives us a total cost of $80,000. Now you can see where we could have a potential for a profit here. We've got $100,000, $80,000. We subtract that out, we end up with $20,000 in profit. And you might want to figure out what that percentage of profit may be. 20,000 profit or loss divided by the cost, $20,000 divided by $80,000, and you're going to end up with 0.25, which is 25% profit. So that's one way you could go about this. And now this is if you're looking at this as an investor looking to sell to another investor, which you could absolutely be an investor as a real estate salesperson. Now, if you're representing this investor, there might be something about ethics getting in the way of doing something like this, especially if you're not fully disclosing this information here. But it is absolutely possible, especially again if you just have your investor hat on rather than just your realtor hat. With this year, you might be able to get the investor to agree to a net commission type of agreement where that $20,000 would be your commission that you have in this particular case here. So there's a lot of ways to kind of work through this here, but that's basically what assemblage is in a nutshell. Now, if this gets into a more complex type of situation where you've got 5 different lots and you're trying to turn this into a neighborhood and you've got to run a street through those 5 different lots, more levels of complexity, and that kind of brings back in our subdivision where we're factoring out a certain percentage of these lots that we can't actually subdivide them into smaller lots. So that's really assemblage of multiple lots into subdivision of breaking that down. So this could really kind of flow into something very long like this here. And again, you can see how this gets very complex and convoluted for all that stuff here. But this assemblage thing going on, definitely going on quite a bit in the South Tampa area in particular. And St. Pete's got a lot of assemblage going on at a larger scale. St. Petersburg as well as the Channel side, or now they're calling it Water Street. That's the new name for it. It's going to have to get used to calling that Water Street. So they've got a lot of the assemblage going on there where they're buying up all these pieces of land so they can develop larger things on top of them. And the reason why they might want that 20,000 square foot, maybe they're building a giant house on top of that 20,000 square foot. That giant house wouldn't fit on one of those single pieces of land itself. So again, this is another way you could tackle this here. You could take two pieces of land and put it together. That's called assemblage, and there's absolutely money to be made with that as well. But it comes down to making sure that you're getting good prices for those individual lots, because if you're able to acquire these lots for $120,000, let's run through that real quick. Let's say you get these two lots, not for $30,000 and $50,000, some combination that makes it now $120,000. Your investor says, no, I told you all I'm paying is $100,000, so what you're stuck with is a $20,000 loss. So a $20,000 loss on your $120,000, which you don't really ever want to find yourself in that situation. But if you do find yourself in that predicament, or maybe you have an investor where you're helping to quantify this percentage of loss, again, you could use that same formula, profit or loss divided by cost. We take our $20,000 loss in this case here, we divide that by the $120,000. What's that going to be? Maybe about 16%, 15%, something like that. We've got 20,000, our profit or loss. In this case, it's a loss, divided by 120,000, and we get, 16.67%. So just a little under 17% of our money that we're losing if we overpay for these individual lots here. Which with this scenario, if they say they're paying $100,000, you shouldn't in your right mind try to buy them for $120,000. That's not going to quite work. But the numbers here are also good for figuring out the percentage of loss that could be possible, and so on and so forth. So that's assemblage. Earlier we were talking about subdivision. Hopefully these helped you better understand this. If it did help you, definitely give us a thumbs up or leave a comment in there. I love reading the comments, even if it's after the show, and seeing that we're helping people understand this stuff in a greater way. There's so much knowledge in the real estate space. I could sit here all day, every day for the rest of my life talking about new information just because there's so much to know. But won't do that every day, but we will be back here Wednesday at 12 noon to do another Ask the Instructor episode where we're going to go and cover some more topics like this, get more into technical stuff, more math, more understanding, more increasing that knowledge that you have. But also check us out on Fridays, 12 noon Eastern Time. So Fridays, 12 noon Eastern Time, we do what's called State of Real Estate. And on State of Real Estate, this is more so a mastermind. Sometimes we're bringing on special guests, sometimes it's just me, and we're covering how to increase your business, how to increase your revenue of your business, how to increase your gross commission, how to minimize the cost of your business, how to do all things to basically take your business to the next level. That's our goal there. Wednesdays, our goal is to help you understand the real estate industry, the technical side of it. Fridays, it's how to take your real estate business to the next level. So make sure you subscribe. The best place to subscribe other than YouTube or Facebook, so subscribe on there if you like those platforms. But if you don't care about YouTube or Facebook, I don't know how I'm talking to you right now, but go to tampaschool.com/success, tampaschool.com/success. And even if you're subscribed on YouTube or Facebook, you'll probably want to go to tampaschool.com/success. Drop your email in there, and you're automatically going to get notified every time we do one of these shows. And you'll also have access to all of the archived episodes as well to go back and learn everything it is that we've talked about on these shows. But other than that, I will see you guys next Wednesday, 12 noon for next week's episode of Ask the Instructor. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
Have you been thinking about starting a career in real estate? Enjoy an entrepreneurial lifestyle that allows for schedule flexibility with unlimited income potential. In real estate, the sky is the limit, and what you put in is what you get out. Learn more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com. Do you wish you could make your own schedule? A career in real estate allows for unimaginable schedule flexibility. Whether you're just looking to make some extra cash in your spare time or become the next top real estate agent, a career in real estate allows you to call the shots.
Find out more about a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're liking the show today, which I'm sure you are, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Our goal is to help you better understand the real estate industry, and I hope we're accomplishing that. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember to leave your comments in the comment section below.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.